I'm going to record this, so at the end of the webinar, you will get an email later today or tomorrow, just with all the recordings. So don't feel like, oh, he rushed through that, I don't know what it is. It'll be here tomorrow. But let me get this going on screen and we can get started. Let's do this one. Cool. Well, nice to meet y'all. My name is Zach. I will be your host tonight for this webinar event. Been in Flatiron School, like it says, 2 years. I'm based all over. Current nomad that bounces around pretty often, and that might be your future here as you go with one of these programs. Today is an info session. We're just really going to go over as much as we can to kind of help you make a decision as you go here through Flatiron School. Please, let me know if you have questions while we go through this. I tend to talk fast, but I promise I'll slow down if you do have questions and we can keep this going. All right. An agenda today, just so you have a good little glance of what we're looking at. We are going to, let me put this over here because I cannot see anything. I want to make sure I can see your questions. Perfect. It goes over here. Apologize for a second. Let me put this on there. Cool. So Flatiron School, I appreciate all being here and making time for this. Our goal here, like anything, is to enable a better life through education. So you're coming here to start new careers, and we want to help you get in the car to do that. When looking at just some general view of what we are, founded in 2012, just had our 10-year anniversary not too long ago. Back in the days of Adam Inbahar and Avi, they started in like a basement in New York. Started with just a bunch of students. Now it's grown all over the world. We got campuses mainly in New York and Denver. So if you're looking to do full-time in person, those are your two options. And then we got 4 programs. So software engineering, data science, cybersecurity, and product design, all of which I'll discuss shortly about, and happy to jump into details. And we're known for having high graduations and getting graduates jobs afterwards. So you'll get a little more information on that. Couple of companies that you'll see in our graduates been deployed at. I always tell students, whether you're looking for big names like the Spotify, the Google, or startups where you can start strong, there's a lot of opportunity in this as you kind of want to grow your career toward this. As you kind of go through the programs, you're going to learn a lot about the different sizes of or paces for classes. So in the pacing for classes, you're going to see here, we have full-time, we have part-time, and then we also have those two just kind of for like middle of the ground. Basically what we talk to them about is there's full-time, which is like, I'm quitting my job, I'm going to do this full-time. And then there's part-time, which is I still need to work. I still need to kind of work it into my schedule, but I'm motivated enough to stay with it. Just a general overview of how I talk about live, full-time, and flex part-time. Live is I'm committed, I'm quitting my job somehow, going to dive into this and put in the full 15 weeks. And it'll be like a Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 or 8 to 5, depending what time zone you're in. And you're just going as much as you can, as quickly as you can. Some benefits of it is you get it done really quickly. It's a super hands-on experience. You got a small, tight-knit group of students who's coming a lot at you at once, and they're going to be there to help support you through it, which is great. The bottom is you're not working, so no income. You got to plan for that, and it is at a very fast pace. So while the support is great, you need to know yourself as a student. If you're not good at taking a lot at once, I don't want you to feel tripped up. You can talk to your advisor about it, but choose a pace that makes sense for you. Flex, or part-time, on the other hand, it's a 40 to 60 week course, so about 10 to 15 months. The beauty of it is you set your own schedule. So whether you're logging on every night around this time at 6 p.m. And cranking through videos, recordings, and Slack channels and time with instructors, or you're working on the weekend, or you're enveloping it in your day, it's awesome if you just need ultimate flexibility, like, hey, I don't need to show up to a class at this time at this point. The downfall, obviously, is you got to be super self-motivated. You got to be good at keeping a schedule. And you got to remind yourself, this is a new skill. It's not something that you're like, oh, I'll log in a day and then I'll wait a month and see. Like, you have to do consistency. It's like going to the gym. Like, you got to keep going to make sure you see different results. Once again, a fantastic option, something just to think about as you kind of plan what's ideal for what your learning style is. Like I said earlier, we have 4 programs. I'm going to run through them here pretty efficiently, but just kind of want to talk about the different offerings we do have here. So number one, our bread and butter, software engineering. In short, coding sites that people use every day. So how we kind of structure this course is you're going to do full stack engineering. You're going to learn front end and back end skills. Here's a few of the ones that we teach currently. The idea behind it is to help you be a full stack engineer, and your job is really going to be adapting to new languages. So how do you do that? You're about to go in a course that's making you adapt to new languages in 3 weeks time, or maybe a little longer in part-time, but you're just learning it to use it as like a pseudocode so you can continue to adapt to new languages on the fly as you get into the job market. You will have 5 projects as you go through here, simultaneously building out that portfolio and getting you to the end for the final project to just kind of show off what you've learned at that point. At the end, you do have a capstone project. We had actually a couple go together through the school, and they made this app called Money Moon, which essentially tracked all of their finances after being married, from food to events to groceries, everything like that. It's a full functional app. They had a really good time with it. And there are links in here that you can look later if you want to take a closer look at what the project looked like, but super cute little fun thing to do. Next on the docket, we got data science. Which, as it says, in short, analyzing data to solve problems and inform business decisions. Really what this is shifting through data, harvesting data, and telling a story with data. So whether you're analyzing Steph Curry's three-point shot, or you're telling a business where their most valuable leads are coming from and why, you are a numbers person. You like shifting through all that. Maybe you like dealing with analysis or statistics. All this kind of stuff is very important for businesses and different applications you can put this toward. But these are kind of the modules we go for that. I love our data science course because when we wrote this book on it, we literally went to job listings, figure out exactly what you need for the job, built our course around that. I know you might see other data science courses out there, but we like to think we were one of the first ones to start doing this concept just to make sure that you have real world examples and you're doing things that are applicable to getting a job later. So data science, great road, great path if it's something you're really passionate about. One of the projects somebody did at the final, where they basically programmed this data insight to figure out how women are represented in films. So they could go through every film and kind of pick the passing, the director, the writer, producer, like they would go down to a T about how many women are represented in films, and gave you some very good insights about how that's progressing. One of our newest and most popular ones as it's come up, or you've probably heard about it, is cybersecurity. It's protecting systems from cyber attacks so people can operate safely. It is not what people think of they see in movies where they're hacking an airplane, it's coming down, or stealing lots of money. Not necessarily. It really is more of building security engines, analysis, and security with consultants. This course is interesting because it's set up kind of like a college would be, where you're taking like a math, science, and history, but replacing that more with like systems, networks. You're going to go through academic writing and be pen testing. All these words may not mean anything to you now, but they will as you kind of dive deeper into it. Cyber industry is really hot right now. There are more jobs than people, which simply means there's not enough people to do this work that we need to do. And it's very important as we go more into digital worlds. It is something that's fantastic to kind of dive into. Like I said, anything you kind of jump into, you got to just take it slow, figure out if it's a good fit for you. But cybersecurity is definitely one of those ones that's climbing up fast. This is one of the projects that they did. It essentially created a dashboard to help troubleshoot all the threats that they monitor through their systems. An efficient way to say, here's where we're leaking, here's what valuable data is getting taken, this is how we're going to solve for it, and this is how we're going to better it so it doesn't happen again. This is essentially what you'll be working on, and there's different roles that you go through for cyber. So like our course will teach you basically different divisions of cyber. And then when you get out of the course, you're choosing which one you want to specialize in. And from there, you'll get a different certificate that's not through us, through your future employer, that you can go into certain divisions, analytical, different things like that. And finally, what we have, product design. In short, user experience, user research, and data to solve problems for users' experience. This is the end of the line. This is for my creative folks out there, people who love finding a problem and building solutions around it, who love mapping, sending out quizzes and surveys, collecting data to understand, like, thinking about the best app you use every day, and the worst app. Somebody had an end user experience in mind and they created that app for you. So when you're looking at that and trying to decipher, oh, it's my favorite workout app because this button's green and it swipes left and it monitors what I'm doing, versus the janky ticket app that you probably have all had where it's just like you click it, it pauses for like a minute and then goes to the next thing. That is essentially what you're doing. You're the end result user. I commonly talk about like riding a horse. User experience is how you feel while you're on the horse, the experience you're going through on the ups and downs in the saddle. UI interface, essentially it's the sternums, it's the straps, it's everything that makes it a more enjoyable experience. The process, this is just a snapshot of what you're going to be doing through the course. UX, UI, full circles, the entire process of each, because in the job you do have a lot of crossover of the two. You do studio projects, which are real-time projects that we did, but it's a more controlled environment. That way we can kind of know what the outcome's supposed to be, and you can still build a nice portfolio off of that. And then finally, your own portfolio project at the end, which we had, there was one here, but is no longer here. We had someone do a gardening app monitor. So it would monitor which plants need what things, whether it be more soil, more sunlight, more rain. And it was a cool way to collect data and the needs of it, but also a way to process it and make it look like different colors of bars and like sad plants and happy plants. Sorry, I don't have a visual for you. I just breezed through that, but before I continue this, I just want to check the chat real quick, see if I have any questions from any of y'all. Got anybody? None for now? Cool. We got more time. We'll keep going. Cool. So those are our programs. I bet you're all wondering, cool, I'm psyched, I want to do this. How do I get in here? So this is the Flatiron team that you're going to deal with. You'll deal with an admissions rep like myself, who will help you through the admissions process from day one to start. You'll have a lead instructor while in class. You'll have technical coaches along the way to help you if the lead instructor obviously is working with other students. And then at the very end, you will have a career coach, which is the most other important piece, finding a job after graduation. Snapshot of how we do our admissions process in general. Go to our website, click apply, select the program you want to do, submit a written application. We don't care if it's long, if it's short. They do have like 100-character minimum. Some people just put a lot of dots when they run out of things to say. But just know we're just trying to get a general cue of who you are and why you're doing this. Doesn't have to be particular. Don't overthink it. Just say, hey, I'm looking for a new career and I saw this, and whatever that reason is, we'd love to talk to you. There's still a lot to talk about in there. From there, you would do an admissions interview. Someone like myself talked about your dreams, your aspirations, what this this program is going to be like, and as you kind of move forward with it. So there's the application, talking about applying. You should know, you're ready to change your career, how much time you're ready to commit per week. You don't need to know how to hack or design or do anything like that. What I look for in my interviews, for example, is like, anyone can do this. It's a new skill at the end of the day. It's a hard skill to learn. If everyone could do it, they would. I just need you to say, hey, I've opened the book on this. I've done XYZ things, whether it be watching YouTube videos. I have a friend in the industry. I did a Udemy course, whatever that is. It gives me a sign that like, okay, you've done this enough before you're about to spend a lot of time and a lot of money on something. I don't want you to throw away money. I want you to find a career. And this is the key for you. I'm happy to help you. I don't want students running into the problem where it's like, hey, if I don't know, I'm just trying to figure it out. We can provide resources. We can send you paths that may take longer, but it'll help you, save you in the long run, figure out what you want to do. The admissions interview, some people, whether you don't like being interviewed or whatever that is, it can be nerve-wracking, but just know, like, come as you are. Ideally, I love when students come with questions. It could be like, hey, I don't know how much your school is, or hey, I read this, like, what do you think about this? Or I was comparing boot camps, anything like that. I'll talk about the weather if that's what you want to talk about. I really just kind of want to get a sense for who you are, why you're coming here, how we can help you out on this journey. And this is a good time for you and why, essentially. After the interview is done, you will be sent an admissions assessment. So admissions assessment is technically our technical interview that you will need to pass to get into the course. It is a series of questions, about 50 long, multiple choice, and it is 15 minutes. Here's some example questions. I'm going to just leave up here for a second. Tom and Sarah have 3 apples and they ate 4. How many are left? Quick SAT style questions. If you don't know an answer, you can skip it and move on. The goal isn't to complete all 50 questions in 15 minutes. The goal is quality over quantity. There are articles you can read that have examples like this just to like calm your nerves, but really just come as you are. Be sure to take it on your laptop. Don't be distracted. Turn your Instagram, wherever you're doing, off and just kind of focus for a second just to get through this. Most students do just fine on it. You are allowed 2 attempts. So if for any reason you don't pass it, we'll have opportunity for the next one. Admissions decision. So this comes after you've done the interview, everything's going well, you passed the assessment, and now you're just waiting for somebody like myself to give you a call back, a text or an email, depending on what form of communication you prefer, to say, hey, you got in. This can take, they say, 1 to 3 business days. Depending on your timeline, it can be a lot sooner. I always just say, be honest with the rep where you're at and how soon you're hoping to hear back, and they'll help speed that up for you. Pre-work. Oh boy. Okay. So once everyone has happily got in, you're cheering, you got your assessment done, everything's great. You run into the next hurdle of what this admissions process is, which I find is the hardest, is the pre-work. So each discipline, whether it be product design, cybersecurity, software engineering, or data science, has pre-work. Pre-work essentially is the first thing you're going to start with when you start class. And it can range from 40 to 60 hours, depending on the discipline. And it is due a week before you start. This is the most underestimated piece of this that everyone thinks. This is a good time to figure out, how much do I love this? How much time can I really commit to this? And also, can I be efficient with my time and get this done? It could take up to a month to complete. That's another thing we'll talk about, but like timing of your applying is important. And your rep like myself will talk you through that. Like, I'll meet you where you're at, but the pre-work is the hardest part. It is the biggest hurdle to get over, and it does take a lot of time. Pre-work is available for you even today. You can start it. There's no payment needed for it. So you could be trucking along doing this behind the scenes for 6 months and then apply and be ready to start. That's a thing. You could do that. And before I jump into finance and things like that, any quick questions from my crew here? Everyone's good. Solid. We're doing great. Let's get to the fun part. Let's talk about how to pay for school. Finances. So common question, normal thing people get is, how do you pay for school? So if you're not aware, the program is $16,900. You pay a $500 fee up front, which is your deposit. So the remainder is that $16,400. From there, you're figuring out you can pay up front. So we can split those invoices for you. Trying to get some credit card bonus points, I'm all for that. We can definitely help you with that. We have an installment plan, 12 payments over 12 months, interest-free. Still comes out to probably, I'd say, $1,300 or so a month. You're just dividing that final number by 12. You do have to do a soft credit check to set that up. But if you have any issues with it, you can work with our partners who are EdAid. Go to this next one real quick. And then the final one we have is our loan partners. Our loan partners are great. Climb and Ascent, they do have deferred payment options. I know a lot of students are always interested in ISAs or income student share agreements. For those who don't know what that is your deferred payment that usually involves you not having to pay anything until after you graduate and secure a job. This is similar to that, minus the deposit you pay, and you start paying it back immediately when you graduate, regardless if you have the job or not. Definitely dependent on interest rates and things like that, but I always recommend to students, just do what is best for you in general. Before I talk about scholarships real quick, Fergus had a question. How many hours would you estimate it takes to complete pre-work? So for example, software engineering, 60 hours, data science, 45 hours, cybersecurity, 50 hours, and product design is actually only 30 hours. All different because what we need to prepare you for is different, essentially. How many true hours is that? Student A, I've done this a little bit before. I'm kind of familiar with JavaScript. I'm going to breeze through this, no problem. And they get it done pretty quickly, a couple weeks. Student B, I'm brand new to this. I honestly haven't opened the book on it. I don't know where I'm going to be. They are the ones that may take 2 months to get it complete. That's why timing's so important. On top of all this, y'all are still working jobs, y'all still have a life outside of this. Like how you're preparing for class is important. Like if I asked any student who's graduated, I'm like, what have you done differently? They say, I wish I would have done that pre-work like forwards and backwards 3 times. So at least when I start on day one, I'm not tripping at the start line. And once again, like a mission rep for myself, I'll remind you till I'm blue in the face. That's important. But at the end of the day, it's like how you schedule that work and get going. But great question. Scholarships, diversity initiative. So we do have scholarships available. You can apply for them. Just ask your rep after you've been formally admitted. They'll send you a link that's separate. I know if you go to the website now and click scholarships, it takes you to like applying again. Don't worry about that. Just look for the scholarship link from your admissions rep like myself. They do range from about $1,000 to $2,000, so somewhere in between that range or full. You can't stack scholarships, just one go, but if you do get it, it is applied straight to tuition. Another question on here, just to clarify, pre-work can only be accessed after acceptance, or is it accessible at any time? It is accessible at any time. That it's on the website, like it's ready to go, and I can send you a link afterwards if you need to. I'll slip my information in here as well real quick. So if you do want to email me personally, you can, and I'm happy to send it back to you. Let me just do that real quick. School.com. Perfect. That's my email. Feel free to send me anything, and I'm happy to give you what you need. All right, the fun part. You've applied, you've gotten accepted, you figured out finances, you figured out pre-work, you started the school, you breezed through the course in 3 months, or maybe you did a longer route and did 12 months, whatever that is. You've gotten a graduation. So now what? I would say most universities look at your resume and say, hey, good job, good luck, go try the job market. That is not what we do here at Flatiron School. We know that the biggest part of after graduating doing this hard skill are the soft skills and how you're going to be able to translate what you just learned. So we have career coaching. So this is our roadmap to making you a successful job seeker. You do get paired with a one-on-one coach right after you graduate. They will review your resume. They'll work on your branding. I'm talking LinkedIn profiling. They'll work on your network and job search, mock interviews, mock tech interviews, because you may be asked to code on the fly while you're in an interview, and basically help you along your whole job search. Most students who like hit the ground running and are doing what they were asking you to do could find a job in 1 to 3 months. This career services is offered up to 6 months. So like obviously you have some time, but most people don't want to be sitting around that long. I remind students, this is in the next level of the program. So you're applying is one step. The actual meat of it, doing the program, is step 2. And step 3 is this career services. You got to put as much effort into this as you do in the program, because finding a job is a full-time job. Good news is for you, we are here to work with you. There's a lot of job opportunities out there in all disciplines, regardless of which one you're looking at. And I always say that like if you can trust the process and do what they say, the job will come, because you're doing a skill that is a high need right now and longevity in it. And if you can do it, you can be very good at it. Let's see real quick. As our jobs reports kind of allude to over here, we do have a very high placement rate. 86% of students find jobs after graduation, which is fantastic. It's really about who's going to get to the end and use those skill sets that they just learned to get to the next level. And salary range, 74,000. I think that's a very comfortable range. Obviously, I've seen higher, but I think it just depends on where you're coming from. All right, breeze through that like crazy. I will send you the slide deck, and I'll be here for questions. But now, if you want to go to the chat bot and start typing in questions, please do, and I'll start answering them. But I got one from Bianca here. She said, what is a typical size for cohorts? I'm looking at software engineering. What sort of opportunities are there to foster community among students taking online version of a boot camp? Love that question. So the live full-time classes, 20, 25 students max. We're not going to put more of y'all in that cohort because A, you're going at a fast pace. B, we don't want you to be a number. And C, we need to make sure that if someone's falling off the track, we're not losing them in a crowd of people. You're not a number. We want to make sure you have that. So for the full-time, looking at like 25 students. For part-time flex, we take up to per cohort about, I'd say 40 to 50 students. But keep in mind, everyone's going at different paces. You're going to find your community within that. And the more you engage in the community events, in the community circles and study groups, the better off you'll be. There's a pace for everyone. Essentially, you make friends different ways, and people have similar schedules all over the world. But they are there for you. And like you, as much as you give, you get back, especially in the flex. If community is important, using those events will help kind of utilize that. As for like fostering community, like we are built on community. We think you're going to help someone as much as someone else is going to help you. So what you bring to the chat here, like what you bring to inspire people is important. The online version of the full-time or the flex, they're different because they're different classes, but it's as close as you can get to as an in-person experience for the full-time. Like it's tight-knit, you got Zoom stuff. It's all about making that environment for you that feel comfortable. And, we want you to be open and honest in how you're feeling. They do take like weekly surveys. They want a pulse check. If you're like, I'm having the worst time ever, they want to know about it, how they can make it better. When the COVID hit and we had to go virtual, I know everyone stutter stepped for a second. We're running full stride now. We've been doing this for a while. So a lot of students still enjoy it. But I know if that's important to you, the other thing you can look into is doing full-time in person, which may revolve around New York and Denver, depending if you have to move, but that's kind of there. But hopefully that answers your question. Good question, Bianca. Let's see, another one pop up here. Let's see. For paying an upfront option, did you say we needed to pay the total minus deposit at one time, or could we break those payment ups? So you have to pay the full amount before you start, but we can break up, like if your credit card limit doesn't go to $16,000, we can do like 8,000, 8,400. If that answers your question. So it's not like we create an installment plan for you to go. If you gave it to you today and you're starting on January 1st and you want to pay one now, you're going to pay one in December and then the final one before you start class, you definitely can do that. Just as long as you get all the money up before you start. That's a good question. Ratio, I got that. What is the ratio of students to teaching staff? So I'd say one lead instructor, about 3 or 4 technical advisors in the live class. So I guess the ratio would be like 25 students to 1 instructor, but he also has, I'm going to say 25 to 4, because you'll have 4 people there for sure managing that. And then as for the flex, you have a revolving door of coaches online until like 1 a.m. East Coast time on Slack. And then during normal work hours, like a 9 to 6, you can set up time for them via Zoom. So that's kind of how much you have. As for instructors with certain degrees or like industry experience, absolutely. I'd say our lead instructors have anywhere from, I'd say 5 to 15 years experience. And then our technical advisors, some have either less experience or were previous students, simply because they embody what we do here. And we think it's important to have that perspective brought in if you're struggling through the course. It's nice to have someone with experience, but it's nice to have someone that says like, I know where you've been. So that's how that goes. In-person times in New York, Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. So like I said, full-time job. It's 11th and Broadway on the 2nd floor. They do campus tours weekly. I think it's Thursdays in New York. So if you are interested in just going to check out campus, you live by, you want to train down, highly encourage it. Get a good feel for where you're going for. Let's see, I got Fergus on here. He said, what did the cover CV for new grads look like who were hired at the big name companies you mentioned, Google, Spotify, Facebook? Do they have accept entry level, no experience candidates? It's a great question. To be honest, Fergus, I usually tell students, if your first job out the gate goal is Google, you should be coming with some background that speaks to that level. I don't think this course like essentially will be the first job you get out of the gate. I think realistically, like you could still work for like a Slack or a Salesforce, like solid companies. These juggernauts of companies like Google and Facebook, I've seen probably a handful of students, and they usually did have some type of past experience that partnered with this, made them a more ideal candidate for whatever reason. Don't let that discourage you. If you got big goals and big dreams, I don't think that's too crazy to think. I just think that how you prepare and what your background is going to bring into it is important. I always tell students too, everyone's story is important. Life experience, work experience, you're bringing that together and writing this new story with this new skill. And that's what makes everyone who graduates uniquely different. And that's why career services meets people at all different stages of their lives, because this is your first time job ever. it's going to be different from someone who has a family and kids or has other things they need. So that's kind of where the give and take starts. It's a good question, Fergus. Love these questions. Small and mighty group. Love it. Let's see. Dimitri, what are your thoughts on applying to working for one company versus freelance developer experience? No worry on spelling. It's all good. So when you get to the end, they talk about this, right? Do you want part-time? Do you want full-time? I've even had students ask for internships, which is fine, but at the end of the day, like this is to start your career, or I'd say contract work. I think when you're brand new and you're just getting to industry, you should take the first job that's a full-time gig. You want to take something that's going to bring good money in, but it also helps you lay the groundwork for like how to play the game. Once you get into the industry and kind of really understand how to do your job well, use recruiters, start taking those like 3 months on, 3 months off jobs. Go into a company, maybe like an Amazon, and say, hey, I just want to be one of your thousands of software engineers to keep this section of the website running, versus a job that's like, hey, I'm a startup and I need everything from ground up, but you get to put your name on it, which could be very enticing, right? So I think there's a lot of opportunity in either side, and that's why it's important to bring your thoughts and what you feel, because that's a piece of it. But once you get to the end, you might develop a different thought after you've been through the programming and know what it looks like. But hopefully that answered your question. Give and take with it. Had someone ask, please provide contact information again. Got it. Let me put this in here. Any of y'all out there, you're looking to start this soon, just shopping around, just looking for anything, I mean, I'm happy to help. Other things I do encourage students to do, and I tell this in anyone in my interviews, shop around, like take your time and look at this. This is a big decision. Financially, you're spending a lot of money, you're spending a lot of time. I think a lot of boot camps do a lot of things well. Like I don't rank them, be like, why are we better than this one? We hang our hat on career services. Yes, that's super important. But I always tell students, money and time are relevant. What fits your budget? What fits your time frame? And then after that, where do you want to put in the work? You're the engine. This thing doesn't move if you don't want to move. I truly believe that. I've seen people go zero to hero. I've seen students go all over the place, and I'll be the first to tell you, if you told me, hey, Zach, I'm waiting on a job instead of the boot camp and you got the job, I'd be psyched for you, because that's what it's all about. So that's kind of vibe just in general you're going to get here, but I'm just telling you, just make sure that as you kind of look through other things, do something that fits what you're looking for. Michael said, are we able to see a tentative schedule of topics we will be covering weekly? That is a good question. If you're going through your admissions process, you should ask your rep. They probably can pull together a good snapshot of that. I might be able, I don't know if I have that with me, a snapshot of like the day. They definitely have. Breaking it down more into like the topics, I would use the syllabus, because that'll actually break it down even further. But if you need more than that, your rep could probably get that for you. Because if you're looking for like a specific language or something like that, that might be helpful depending, and they usually probably answer it for you. Dayton, when you're doing the flex option, what is the average amount of time you should budget for learning session? Lecture, time to work, and what you learn. Perfect. Great question. Like, love this. So I tell students, if you're not committed to a schedule, you're committing to spending all this money to not do a lot with it. It's consistency and it's time. We set the hours for 20 to 30 hours if you're trying to move at the 10-month pace. Now, with that, if you get stuck on JavaScript for 30 hours, obviously you're not going to finish at 10 months. So that's why you have to be very like receptive to, like, if your goal is 10 months, awesome, let's keep you to it. Your instructors will actually, every time you log in, it'll show you, hey, if you continue at this pace, you'll finish in 12 months. If you continue at this pace, you'll finish in 11 months. That'll give you a registration in your head to be like, okay, I want to finish faster. How do I do that? Those one-on-ones with the instructors, you can talk to them about like, hey, I'm really trying to pace to this. What should I be getting done week over week? Like, where should I be in these sections that I have? And that way you can set marks for those, but also allow time for yourself to be like, if I get stuck here, how much further is that going to push me? Where can I excel because I know this subject? Or where am I going to throttle back? You will struggle in this course. That's part of the learning experience. The struggle is the way. It's the best way I can Yoda that. But really, just taking your time and making sure that you're setting the schedule for yourself. That's why flex is very interesting, because you can move faster or slower. but sometimes even if you're putting in the hours, that needle is moving slower than you want it to. So working with your instructors and figuring that out. And that's a long-winded answer of saying like 20 or 30 hours, but deeper into that is like, I could tell you 20 or 30 hours, you could count that out on a week, and then you end up not moving and you're like, what the heck? You kind of figure out your flow as you get into the information. And that's why how you prepare for class is important too, because it'll help you have an idea of like, how much am I going to struggle on this? What do I enjoy about this kind of thing? Good question though. Let's see. How much time a week does the average graduate spend studying in a part-time software engineering class? Yeah, similar to that. It ranges because you are allowed to make your own schedule. So like if you're diligent and you're going at it and you're trying to get down to a certain amount of time, I'd say you're probably putting those 20 or 30 hours a week. But if you're on top of that, someone who's new and just struggling with the information, maybe you're really digging in and putting in a lot more hours just to like get to base A, right? I can't say for certain where students are because everyone's starting differently. We give you the pre-work so everyone has like a foot to stand on, but from there it's like who's motivated, who's going to use the resources, who's going to reach out. Flex in theory is a beautiful, beautiful thing they've created. In practice, it's student to student and how they're managing it. Once again, it goes back to how ask yourself, how do I manage myself? How dedicated can I be? All these kind of things. And you can build upon that. Good question, Abraham. Awesome name. Let's see. Anybody else? I don't know how I pulled up two chats. I'm looking at both of them. All right, Dimitri. In person, if one is struggling with an assignment or concept, what does help look like in person or after class? Great question. So, as I mentioned before, because you're going at such a rapid pace, it's not like maybe college or any schooling you've done where it's like, we'll see how you do at the end of the final. Hopefully, you retained it. It's not how this operates. It's like, if you're struggling, number one, I encourage you to raise your hand. I'm sure you're not the only one in the class who doesn't know what's going on at a certain time, and we need more people to raise their hand and like have that moment. They will make time for you either in the moment, after class if needed, early before class, or even during those hours. There are hours in the day where you're doing one-on-ones or breakout groups or things like that. So you won't ever feel like you're like having to wait till the next day or a week to get an answer back. We want to try to adjust it in the moment. We also want to make sure that like if we can explain it in just a slightly different way to help your brain understand it, that's what they want to do. Live is intense. Like you gotta strap in and be ready, and that's why the pre-work is extra hard, especially for the live students, just because you need to be ready for like how quickly you're going to eat that spoon of food. If you had a month to do pre-work, you technically only had 2 weeks to do it in live, so like it's like fast. But there is a lot of support there with the coaches, the main lead coach, and all those advisors. So they should be able to help you in real time. Let's see, I'm going to go back to Michael. What differentiates Flatiron's program from your competition of the boot camps? Things we hang our hat off, which I mentioned earlier, are our employer partnerships. People who are coming here find jobs at a high percentage. 86% of students do find jobs very quickly and very highly. But at the end of the day, like I take the transparent route. Like this works if you're willing to do the work. Those are the people who reap the benefits and the success to all this. And that goes for any boot camp, whether you're coming here or somewhere else. So ask yourself, if you love this enough, bet on yourself and like you'll do fine. So whether it's here or somewhere else, that's just how I feel about it. I think there's a lot of great boot camps out there, and you'll see them as you start your Google search. Abraham, what hours of days are instructors available for the Flex program? I can send you the chart of it, but basically it's Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, and then they have hours on the weekend, which I want to say it is 10 to 3, Saturdays and Sundays. That's East Coast time. But I can email you, Abraham. If you shoot me an email, I can shoot you back the schedule and make sure that's posted. But yeah, that's important. And they're usually readily available throughout the process for Flex, especially for software engineering as well. Great questions, everyone. What else we got? How often do classes and cohorts start? Yes, awesome. So we have start dates essentially one every month, sometimes two. The other cohorts, like I would say product design and data science, are more spread out. So those full-time dates might spread out every 2 months. Software engineering, for example, we have November 21st coming up, December 12th, January 9th, January 30th, February 20th. So like I say, miss one bus, next bus coming. So you'll always have an opportunity for it, and your rep will kind of help map out, based off what time it is, where you're at, how much time you need to get pre-work done, how much time you need to get finances cleared. Like they'll say, I suggest you start on this date because, and it's usually talking about pre-work and giving you time. But that's a good question. What made you want to join Flatiron School? Honestly, so I myself am not a software engineer. I've tried it. It's not my passion in life. I love the benefits of what it brings, but it was just not something that clicked for me. My passion is people and basically education. I've never been in an environment where something so like tangible is in front of you. Like I went to college, I got a marketing degree. No one was waiting for me saying like, here's some great jobs lined up. These 4 programs have jobs lined up essentially. Like there's so much opportunity in this field. It's a hard skill to do, but if you can do it, it reaps the benefits. Flatiron School is like a community. It's like a family. I've always enjoyed working here. Everyone's super kind and welcoming. I vibe on positive vibes, and that's what I need. And this is where it's at. And then also just like the community of people is great. And the coursework, like it is a really great school. Like it's why we've been around for so long. Software engineering really gets it done, and good outcomes. So that's why I love it. I say go where your vibe is and like what you enjoy. Oh, cool. Got your email. So, anything else? Oh, that's all more. Here it comes. Anything else, guys? Anything, gals? Cool. If you need anything else, I'll drop my email in the chat here one more time. So in case you need questions, but like I said, you will get a recording of all this. I'll send the slide deck out. And then if you have any more questions or decide to apply, feel free to reach out to me directly if you want. I'm happy to talk on the phone with you individually. I'm happy to jump on a call, whatever you need. Please, let me know if anything, and, have a wonderful evening. The rest of y'all. Thanks so much, Peter. Thanks everybody else. Thanks, Abraham. Bye.